It is the 23rd day of the month of Maseches, and we are almost in the middle of Maseches Pesachim. Almost there. Daf Samach Amud Aleph is our daf for today, and we are picking up from the Mishnah. A little bit of a Hagdama. We left off after the Mishnah on Nuntes Amud Beis. The Mishnah told us that a Korban Pesach, which is shechted, Shaloi lishmai v'kibul v'halach v'zarak shaloi lishmai, oy lishmai v'shaloi lishmai, oy shaloi lishmai v'lishmai, possible. That if you have some kind of, and we're going to be questioning all of this, some kind of both lishmai and lo lishmai in the process of preparing the Korban Pesach, the Akrav of the Korban Pesach, that would all be possible. And then the Mishnah, explains and elaborates. What does it mean? Not for its sake and for its sake at the same time. It means l'shem Pesach u l'shem Shlamim, that you were thinking of it l'shem Pesach, for the sake of a Korban Pesach, and for the sake of a Shlamim, which a Korban Pesach is not. A Korban Pesach is a Korban Pesach, and a Korban Shlamim is not. The Rambam listing the different kinds of Korbanos lists Pesach as one of three exceptions. Says the Mishnah, Shaloi lishmai v'lishmai is for the sake of a Shlamim, and then l'shem Pesach. Very, very brief Hagdama to everything that we are going to say. There are four avodas that every Korban has. The Korban has shechita, the animal has to be shechted, and then there's Kabbalas Adam, the blood has to be collected. Then there is halacha, taking that to the Mizbach, and then zrika, throwing it on the Mizbach. Those four avodas are the four avodas that are going on for every Korban. And so the Gemara asks the question four lines down from the bottom, four lines up, from the bottom of Nun Tes Amud Beis. Says the Gemara by Rav Papa. Rav Papa asked the following question: Ba'avoda achas tanan or b'shtei avodas tanan? Is our Mishnah that says that there was both lishmai and shelo lishmai, is that within one avoda, meaning all within shechita, all within halacha, all within shechita, meaning in one of those avodas that a person was thinking two things, either lishmai, either shelo lishmai and then lishmai, or lishmai and then shelo lishmai? Was that in one avoda or b'shtei avodas tanan, or was that in two separate avodas? Meaning shechita was one thought, and then Kabbalah was another thought. That's option number one. If it is in one avoda Rabbi Yosi, then this works well for the opinion of Rabbi Yosi. The Amar, because Rabbi Yosi is of the opinion, we saw this earlier, that a person is also responsible for the end of their statement. So if a person makes a statement and then makes a contradictory statement at the end of that, that end of that statement, we don't chuck out. We don't say, well, that was ridiculous. You can't have two things. No, we take him seriously for that as well. So if that would be the case, a person that says a Korban Pesach that I'm shechting, l'shem Pesach or l'shem Shlamim, no, you're caught out for the Shlamim, and the whole thing would be possible, because though he originally said Pesach, since he also said that it's l'shem Shlamim, it would be a problem. The Reb Meir, because according to the opinion of Reb Meir, Amar Tfus Lashon Rishon, Reb Meir would say, just who cares about the nonsense that he said at the end? This is all Rashi points out a discussion of Maseches Tamura. Reb Meir, who says, I don't care about what he said at the end, I just care about what he said at the beginning. Tfus Lashon Rishon. You should hold on to the thing that he said first. The first one has significance, the second one is meaningless. Move on. Oidilma, alternatively, turning on to Samach Amud Aleph, which is our Amud for today. The whole thing is, the Mishnah is talking about two separate avodas. So there's halacha and zikr, or shechita and Kabbalah. Maybe the Mishnah is talking about two avodas, and this is also going in accordance with the opinion of Reb Meir, that he shechted the Karban lishmai, and then he did Kabbalah shelo lishmai, and that's the whole thing would be possible. The Amar, he says Tfus Lashon Rishon. He holds Tfus Lashon Rishon. Hani mili ba'avoda achas. Maybe Reb Meir would only say that within one avoda. But if it was in two separate avodas, meider demifsal, he too would agree that this would be possible. That is the question of Rav Papa. Is this the opinion of Reb Meir? Is this opinion of Reb Yossi? And are we talking about one avodah or two avodas? And now we are going to attempt to resolve this question. So says the Gemara, Amri, let's say, Ahai. What case are we talking about? Meaning, what the question that Reb Papa asked, what case is he talking about? Because there's multiple cases in the Mishnah. If we are talking about, this question applies to the case of Shaloi Lishmai V'Lishmai, that the first thing that he said was, I'm checking this L'Shem Shlamim, and then he said, I'm doing this L'Shem Pesach. So if it's a case of Shaloi Lishmai V'Lishmai, Bein Avodah Achas, Bein Shtei Avodas, Bein Reb Meir, Bein Reb Yossi, Ifsalei, Mika Maisa. It doesn't make a difference whether it's one avodah, two avodas, and it doesn't make a difference if it's Reb Meir or Reb Yossi. The moment that he says, I'm shechting this for the wrong karban, the question doesn't even exist, doesn't get off the ground, because it's for sure going to be possible. Dehal Reb Yossi Nami, according to Reb Yossi, also, meaning he doesn't hold that you're going to take the thing that he said second as the primary statement. He says you're also responsible for the tertiary statement that you make. So if he says it's L'Shem Shlomim and L'Shem Pesach, so we still hold him responsible for saying that it's L'Shem Shlomim, and that's not the case. Meaning that's not true. It should not be L'Shem Shlomim, and therefore it's going to be possible. So the question doesn't get off the ground. It's not even a relevant question to ask with regards to the clause of the Mishnah, Shaloi Lishmai V'Lishmai. Ella, where is the question? If you started off with Lishmai and then you went to Lo Lishmai, what would the din, what exactly is the case that the Mishnah is referring to? So that's where the question of Reb Papa exists. In the case of Shelo Lishmai, of Lishmai first, and then Lo Lishmai. I'm thinking I'm going to do this for the sake of Pesach, and then he says I'm going to do this for the sake of Islam. So this is Tashma coming here. Let's see how this works. We have a brayso that says as follows: Ha Pesach sheshachtu Shelo Lishmai. You have a korban Pesach that was shechted Shelo Lishmai, not for its sake. V'kilu v'halach v'zarek Shelo Lishmai. And then you collected the blood and you carried it over, and you walked it over to the Mizbach, v'zarek, and you threw it on the Mizbach. Shelo Lishmai. All of that was not done l'shem Pesach. So hechidami. What is that case? If it is as it says, lamali ad de mechashav l'chulu. Why do you then need to go ahead and tell me all of them? Meaning, we're talking about a case of Pesach sheshachtu Shelo Lishmai. Okay, good. So it's possible. There's nothing more to talk about. Why do you have to tell me then v'kivu v'halach v'zarek Shelo Lishmai? That you are accepting the blood and you're walking it over and you're throwing the material Shelo Lishmai. The whole thing is possible. It says mekamaisa ifsale from the beginning. It's already possible. So elalav hachitani. Rather, you must say that this brayso, that this Mishnah is telling me. This Mishnah is telling me haPesach sheshachtu Shelo Lishmai, that if a Pesach was shechted for another purpose, inami, or alternatively shachta lishmai, that it was shechted for its own purpose, v'kilu v'halach v'zarek Shelo Lishmai, and some other avodah was Shelo Lishmai. Inami, or alternatively, shachta v'kilu v'halach lishmai, that you had shechted it and you did Kabbalah and you did halacha and all of that was lishmai. V'zarek Shelo Lishmai, but the zrika was Shelo Lishmai. Davle shtei avodas. So in that case, that is all talking about two avodas, which means that what are we talking about here? It's a case of two separate avodas. Meaning the Lishmai and Shelo Lishmai on two separate avodas, and then this would go according to the opinion of Reb Meir, meaning it would even go according to the opinion of Reb Meir. Says the Gemara, yeah, but hold on a second. Ema Seifa, then the end of this Mishnah says Lishmai v'Shelo Lishmai. So how do you have a Lishmai and then a Shelo Lishmai? Hey Chidami, what is that case? Each name of Ishtei Avodas, if you are saying that is within two Avodas, Hainu Reisha, then that's exactly the same case as the Reisha. Meaning, Shelo Lishmai v'Lishmai and Lishmai v'Shelo Lishmai, if we're talking about two separate Avodas, then that is exactly the same case as the beginning. Meaning, we're just repeating it. El alav b'avodah achas. So you have to rather conclude that the whole thing is talking about that this is the opinion, that this is all taking place in one avodah. And that's where in one avodah, in one avodah, you could have the case Shalol Lishmai and Lishmai and Lishmai and Shalol Lishmai Rabbi Yossi, and this is the opinion of Rabbi Yossi, the Amar, who says Af Bigmar Dvarav Adam Nitpas, that a person is also held responsible for the end of his statement. Says the Gemara, no, la, you don't have to select that. You can still say that this is talking about two avodas, and this Mishnah still goes according to Reb Meir. What's the case? Yeah, this is subtle. The ratio which is talking about that he's shechting the korban Pesach, that's what he's doing currently. And he's thinking about shechting the korban Pesach. Inami, or alternatively, kai b'zrika. He's holding by zrika, throwing the blood on the mizbech. And he is thinking about zrika. Seifa, the end of the Mishnah, is the kai b'shchita. He is thinking about shechting. V'kachashe b'zrika. The kai b'shchita is in the middle of shechting. V'kachashe b'zrika, and he's thinking about putting the blood on the mizbech. The Amar, he says, Harini shechet as a Pesach lishmai. I'm shechting the korban Pesach for its sake. Lizroik dam shaloi lishmai, and I will throw it on the mizbech as a shlamim. V'kamash malan, and what is the Mishnah teaching us? The mechashin me'avoda la'avoda is that you can think from one avoda to another avoda and puzzle your korban by thinking the wrong kavana for a later part of the avoda. Meaning for a avoda that you are not holding by now. So you can shecht it lishmai with the understanding that I'm going to be zorik shaloi lishmai and puzzle the korban. So it's still two avodas. V'hainu by the Rav Papa, and this would be the question of Rav Papa. This is what Rav Papa is talking about. Meaning, what happens if you shechted with one kavana and you had intention to do another avoda at that same time, but with the wrong kavana, tashma. So let's see how this works out. Tashma, the pasuk, the Brisa says as follows: or one of the psulim that we said in the Mishnah is shaloi lishmai v'lishmai. It is shaloi lishmai, not for its sake, v'lishmai, and for its sake, puzzle. That is puzzle. Hey chidami, what is that case within this question of Rav Papa? If you are saying that this is talking about two avodas, two separate avodas, hashel lishmai v'shaloi lishmai. In the case of lishmai and shaloi lishmai, amarta puzzle. You had said that this is puzzle. Shaloi lishmai v'lishmai mibaya. What, now you would need a chiddush to come along and teach me shaloi lishmai v'lishmai? Meaning, if your first thought was shaloi lishmai, then that's obvious. Then that's obvious that that's going to be puzzle. Why do you then need to tell me shaloi lishmai v'lishmai? Who cares if it was shaloi lishmai and then lishmai? The moment that you have a shaloi lishmai, the whole thing is going to be puzzle. And alav ba'avoda achas. Now, you have to say that this is all talking about one avoda. Umi the sefer ba'avoda achas. And since the end of the Mishnah is talking about within one avoda, reishanami ba'avoda achas, then the whole thing is talking about one avoda, and then this goes back to being only in one avoda, and this has to be the opinion of Rabbi Yossi. So we say, like, no, maybe there's another way of learning this. The whole thing is talking about two avodas. And the truth is, you're right. The Mishnah didn't need to teach me the second part of the Mishnah about shaloi lishmai first and then lishmai. But since the Mishnah had taught lishmai and then shaloi lishmai, it taught the opposite case as well. Meaning for the sake of completion, but it doesn't actually teach you any additional din. There's no chiddush in the second part of the Mishnah. Says the Gemara Tashma. Let's take a look at this. We have a brisa that says as follows. What happens if you... Oh. Make sure that that's good. We're getting a call coming through there. Hold on a second. That should be better. Okay. Says the brisa as follows. If you shechted the korban Pesach, shaloi la'ochlav, meaning for one of the people, every korban Pesach has to have ochlav, has to have a group of people that are going to be eating it. And when you shech the Korban Pesach, you have to have in mind the group of people, the chabura that you're going to be eating it with. What happens if it was shachta shaloi la'ichlav? You shech the Korban Pesach for people that cannot eat it, meaning an orel, an uncircumcised person, or a nachri, or a non-Jew, or somebody that wasn't included in the chabura. Le'arelim, for uncircumcised people, or l'tmeim, or somebody that was tameh. Meaning, any of these people that are not supposed to be eating your Korban Pesach, puzzle, then the Korban Pesach is going to be puzzle. Hacha, says the Gemara, Hacha pshita b'avoda achas. Here, very clearly, we are talking about one avoda. This is only taking place in shechita. Umida sefer b'avoda achas, and since the end is talking about one avoda, reishanami b'avoda achas. So the beginning is also talking about one avoda. Now, where is this? This is the Mishnah that we're going to see under Samach Aleph Amud Aleph. And that is the direct follow-up to our Mishnah from Nun Testament Beis. So the next case in the Mishnah is going to be Shachta Shaloi La'ichlav, Shaloi Libnuyav. So that's clearly only talking about Shechita. So if that is talking about Avodah Achas, then our Mishnah, which is just the beginning of this Sugya, is also talking about only with one Avodah. Says the Gemara, Midi Iria, is this a good proof? Who says, Ha-de-ke'isa. No, treat each Mishnah separately. Each Mishnah should get its own separate attention. This Mishnah is talking about two Avodas, in theory, and the next Mishnah could be talking about one Avodah. It says, Ha-de-ke'isa, Sefer ba'avodah achas reisha, I ba'avodah achas, I b'shtei Avodas. Papa's question is, yeah, it's clear that the next Mishnah is talking about one Avodah. I want to know about this Mishnah. Is this one Avodah or two Avodas? Tashma. So come in here. La'ichlav shaloi la'ichlav. We are soon going to see what happens if you shechted the korban la'ichlav for those that can eat it, v'shaloi la'ichlav, and those that cannot eat it. What if you had intention for two groups? Kosher. That would be kosher. Hey Chidami, how is this case? If you are talking about b'shtei avodas, v'taim dechasher b'zrika, and the reason that it is valid, meaning the reason that it's still kosher, is because while you were shechting it, you shechted, I'm going to shech this for the people that are supposed to eat it, and then I'm going to bizarre the dam for the sake of the people that cannot eat it. That's the la'ichlav v'shaloi la'ichlav. It says the ein machshavas la'ichlav b'zrika, because there is no relevance to the people that are eating it when you are being zorek the dam, meaning that's irrelevant. That's got nothing to do with people that are eating it. I'm going to throw it on the mizbeach that the kohen's got to do that, and that's good and well and fine. She says, ha ba'avodah achas. That would imply that if it was ba'avodah achas, that if the shechita itself was la'ichlav and shaloi la'ichlav, kegoin b'shechita, for example, shechita, d'mehani bei machshavas eichlin, there, in that case, it would be relevant to have the intention of who's supposed to be eating it, and in that case, it would be puzzle. Is that the implication of the later Mishnah? It says, Veha kaimalan mikzas oichlim loy pasla. But we also know that mikzas oichlin loy pasla. The din is, Rashi points out, the last Rashi on the page, kaimalan, we're going to see on Samach Aleph Amud Aleph, mikzas oichlin, means kigoin hacha de nimnu by ruin lechel v'shachtel l'shem kulon kosher. What happens if you had all the intention of all the people that are supposed to be shechted? It says the ha kula shchita nami mishum oichlin tzricha. Shchita is necessary for eating purposes. The efshal k'zay is possible shchita. You cannot eat it at all. The mitzvah of achila requires shchita. L'kam mefarish ma'ishna l'ishmal v'shlo l'ishmal puzzle l'echel l'echel kosher. And later we're going to ask the question: what's the difference between lishma shlo and l'echel shlo l'echel? But suffice it to say, for the moment, says Rashi, that we know that if you have in mind la'ichlav and shaloi la'ichlav, that's not going to puzzle it. It's not going to puzzle even in the case of shechita. Says the Gemara, turning onto Samach Amud Beis, just to finish the question, elalav ba'avodah achas. No, so then you have to conclude that this whole thing is talking about ba'avodah achas. Umi the sefer ba'avodah achas, rishanam ba'avodah achas. And since the sefer is ba'avodah achas, then the Reisha is also going to be ba'avoda achas. Says the Gemara, finishing up the question, midi iria hakadi isa v'hakadi isa. Maybe you want to say no. The later Mishnah that's talking la'ichlav v'shaloi la'ichlav, that's talking about a later Mishnah, and that is talking about ba'avoda achas. And we agreed that that's ba'avoda achas. But Rav Papa's question is still what about the Reisha, about our Mishnah? So sefer ba'avoda achas v'reisha oy ba'avoda achas or b'shtei avodas. It could be with one avoda or with two avodas. That is the question that Rav Papa asked. Now, the Gemara does not conclude what the answer is to that question. And therefore, Rashi points out here, Sefer ba'avoda achas, so Reisha emalach, this is the Rashi. Sefer ba'avoda achas, Reisha emalach, af ba'avoda achas v'Rabbi Yossi, b'shtei avodas kamar v'lo ba'avoda achas v'Rabbi Meir. The ba'avoda achas kasher v'lishma v'shelo lishma tavos l'ashon rishon. We don't have an answer to that question. Rav Papa's question, is the Mishnah in one avoda or two avodas? Is this according to Rabbi Yossi or is it according to Reb Meir? That question is unresolved, at least at this point in the sugya. And Be'ez Hashem Yisbarach, we will continue with the rest of this conversation. Be'ez Hashem Yisbarach, tomorrow Shabbos Kodesh and Motzei Shabbos as well. Everybody should have a beautiful Shabbos and a wonderful day. See you later.